Hey everyone, my name is Lou Lombardi. You guys might know me from my podcast. Some of you know me as a singer, songwriter, guitar player in the hard rock, heavy metal genre. I want to talk to you guys today about singing. I want to tell you a little bit about my story, and I want to quickly show you a couple of things, give you a couple of pointers that will improve your singing by the end of this video. Yes, I guarantee it will. If you're unless you're already doing these things, then good for you. But if you don't know these things will definitely immediately improve what you're doing. But first, real quick, I want to tell you a little bit about my story. I grew up primarily playing guitar because anytime I opened my mouth to sing, people would be like, that's terrible. Don't sing. Whatever. I even had people tell me, whatever you do, don't sing. I was told you have a terrible voice over and over and over. So I had a lot of psychological barriers to singing. At some point, though, if you're playing guitar, somebody eventually puts a microphone in front of you and says, "Well, you got to sing like something." So the first song I ever sang professionally in a band was a song called "Keep Your Hands to Yourself." It's a song from the '80s by the Georgia Satellites, and it actually went over pretty well. So I started to realize that there were certain things vocally I could do. Eventually, I got in a situation where I was playing with some guys and they really liked me. We were good friends, and they were like, let's do a three-piece rock type band, like a Cream, Government Mule type band. I'm like, sounds great. I'm like, well, who's going to sing? They're like, you are. I'm like, oh crap. So what I did was I went out and thought, man, I got to get this singing thing under control because we're writing originals and I want to do a record and I don't want to be the guy with the terrible voice. So I went out and sought out a really good vocal coach, and she was a perfect vocal coach for me because she didn't try. I had vocal lessons. I had taken voice lessons in the past before, but everybody wanted to wanted to make me sing tons of scales. Everybody said you have to sing opera or classical or show tunes. She worked directly with me singing rock, which was what I sing. So, long story short, she very quickly, like in the first few lessons, showed me a handful of things that like immediately improved what I was doing. Okay, so sometimes I'm not telling you guys that you don't have to practice. I'm not telling you guys it doesn't take some time to put in to get like really good, especially if you're just starting out. But there are a handful of things that you can do right off the bat that will improve your singing like right away. And I'm going to give you, okay, I'm going to give you a couple of them right now. One of the things that I was doing, and this sounds completely like, and I want to tell you this, you're going to be like, what? That's nothing. But I'm going to tell you, one of the things that I was doing was the tongue. That my tongue was getting in the way. I was when I would go to sing high or low, I was moving it all around. I was trying to use my tongue to kind of correct the pitch, and all that was doing was like it was like a wild card whether or not when I opened my mouth to sing a note or a word, whether it was going to be on pitch or not. So one of the things I learned right off the bat was to keep the tongue resting gently in the bottom of the mouth. Just kind of like with the tip of the tongue just resting up against the back of the teeth, real nice. And it was, when I would do it, it was good. But because it was not a habit yet, I wasn't doing it all the time. So you will notice an improvement right away when you start to sing. If you learn to rest that tongue when you don't exactly need it to pronounce a word. Once you've pronounced your consonant or whatever, the tongue should immediately come back down to the resting position. And what's cool about the tongue thing is you can practice the tongue thing. That's not the technical word for it. I don't know if there's a technical word for it. You can practice that like while you're speaking. Very cool, right? Very, 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 very cool. So that's the first thing I would tell you guys is like this will improve your singing like immediately. Is just rest the tongue. Just keep the tongue resting. Be conscious of that as you're speaking throughout the day. Do that. Okay. The other thing is the breathing thing. Now you hear a lot of people talk about breath support, breathe from your diaphragm and all that. The breathing thing that the breathing problem that I had was I was spewing all the breath out like right away. And I don't have a balloon. Oh, yes, I do. I have a balloon here. Let me show you this real quick. What you do, how you want to treat the breathing thing is you would fill the belly up with air before you start singing. Okay, before you take that's when you take this breath to sing a phrase or a line or whatever. Fill that belly up, and then you have to let it out slowly. So an exercise you could do this with is like. And as you're singing, you're hissing, essing, whatever you want to call it, you're letting the air out slowly, and you want to get a steady thing with that. So you want to control the air coming out. You don't just go puke the air out. Okay, I would fill my belly up with air, and I would lose all the air on the first pitch. Let me show you, give you a little visual. It's something like this. Just letting it out real slow. Just letting that air out real nice and easy, not like that, then you won't be able to sustain the pitch. So when you take that deep breath, we all know we've got to fill that belly up, let it out real slow. Now the last tip I'm going to give you is something that all these I'm using now. They've become second nature, but this was the one thing that was kind of hard for me to get at first. But when I resigned myself to do this, every song I sang got immediately better. And that is to learn the melody of the song. What do I mean by that? A lot of people learn the lyrics, of course. Guitar players, I'm a guitar player. There's other guitar players watching this. What do? We learn the chords, we learn the riffs. Maybe if you're a piano player, you learn the melody. But this is where I was really deficient. And learning the melody, learning to pluck the melody out on your instrument, or just to be able to sing it on solfege or singing it on ba or la, will make you much more cognizant of the notes, the key, where it's going up, where it's going down, where you're not quite getting, where you're falling off the cliff and going flat in different places. So make sure that you know the melody to every song you sing. That you can take the words away and you can la 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 or ba 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 or fa fa fa, whatever syllable you want to use, and you can go through that and you can nail those pitches. All right. It's no different, guys, than if you're learning the guitar riff and you got to know all the notes. You got to know where to put your fingers. Right. It's the same thing with the singing. You got to know those pitches so you know where to go up, down, and what notes to hit. And this will really refine your singing. So this is the things I want you to work on. Practice. And the tongue thing is awesome because you can do it all day long. And the breathing thing too. Learn to breathe this way and practice that breathing just as you're speaking. Taking a breath, filling up the belly and letting the air out slowly just as you're speaking. I'm doing it while I'm talking to you right now. And finally, learn the melodies to the song. Sit down and make sure that if you're a guitar player, a piano player, or whatever instrument you play, you can pluck them out on an instrument and you can know them. Anybody can get a cheap keyboard, ding, 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 pluck out the melodies, get them in your head. And that way, no matter what the words are, you're not tripping over all that stuff. You know that melody solid. Okay, so guys, remember, just because maybe you're not a great singer right now doesn't mean you can't become really, really good. All right? With some work, with employing a few tactics, and with discovering things like I just showed you, many of these things, and there's a lot more things like this that I'm going to show you in future videos, things like this that can immediately, it will correct stuff like immediately. It's like freaking magic. The practice part comes in. It's just the reason you practice is so that you remember to do those things. When you do those things, you improve right away. Guys, thank you so much for giving me your time, for checking this out. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a couple of things. I have some links here below my face. Please check them out because we've got a lot of goodies for you. My name is Lou Lombardi. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out. I'm going to try to reach down here and be real cool to turn this video off. I'll talk to you soon.